If only you knew some of the conversations that take place before we get on air. Like this morning, Chantal is telling the men on set about waist trainers. Like she wants our men to train their waists. Can you imagine that? Good morning. And this is Good Morning Uganda. I'm Olive Monica Najuma here to take you through this morning with, of course, my awesome team. And I'll start with the lady that is advising men to buy waist trainers. Good morning, Chantal.
Good morning, Olive. How are you doing? And good morning, our viewers. So glad you could wake up with us this morning. And yes, they need to know, because if there are women came with waist trainers, they need to understand these things.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a vested interest. They're the ones that gain the most.
So you're not telling them to buy the waist trainers
if
for
they
themselves.
want to buy, but that sounds a little... I don't know if I found a man wearing a waist trainer, how I would think or feel. Best believe.
You would, I don't know. I would be like, he's trying to get with the flow. He's trying to be in shape for me.
Olive. No, thank you.
Chirabo.
Oh, he asked for details.
I didn't say
He asked for the
He
details.
asked for details, and I recommended that he doesn't think about it.
I've been told coffee is one of those best ingredients, I should say, that one can actually use,
Especially
to
breakfast.
cut,
To lose,
to lose weight, gymming as well, and and also having some stress a little bit. You sprinkle some stress into your life, you can lose.
Okay, Jerome, first of all, good morning, and I'm hoping that you had a wonderful night.
Yes, indeed I did. Good morning to all my teammates here, and good morning, Ugandans. Many thanks for joining us this morning. Well, Wednesdays are normally a fresh opportunity for some of us in regards to the fact that we now get in sync with what the week has to provide. They normally excite me as an individual.
When you have 2 days to the end of the week.
I know, yeah. So I'm only gearing up for those particular 3 days from Friday to Sunday.
Okay. And I have a question for you this morning, Jerome. Why is it that when we mention waist trainers, you thought of Robert? What do the two have in common?
No, because Robert actually asked the question, what the waist trainers really do. So I was like, maybe Chantal was indirectly attacking Robert.
Why, Robert? Why not yourself? Robert, what do you have to say for yourself this morning?
Oh, you children of the 90s, mutuvuka speedy. Because you just mentioned something and I didn't understand. To be very honest with you, that's why I said, do I need one? Because I didn't understand. And up to now, there are things that we are just these days sometimes are new to our generation. Yes, because for us, everything was given by God. We were so natural. People were so artificial.
I am so sure you were not born with a pot belly.
You people, you're so artificial. Right from, is it called, there's addition foundation, then these things, then now I saw stuff that even helps make your nose pointed. Where the women, you can put it here, and I'm like, now I hear a waist trainer, I'm asking, now what is that? Do I need it? So things you can't understand.
I like Robert for being honest.
We have an ancestor on the team.
No, he has used the tagline "children."
Children.
As in the
Which
president calls us Bazukulu. Now we have Robert down here calling us children.
To you all, because the move got speedy, but by and large, I just enjoy this. I just enjoy you guys. You just make my mornings very unique. Every morning there's something to laugh about before I get on set, and even when I'm on set.
And now, speaking about things to laugh about, yesterday I saw a story that was so interesting. So the Archbishop of Kampala Diocese, Paul Semogerere, advised people, Ugandans, to work hard and get out of poverty. But what was more interesting is that he said, you will not go to heaven if you are poor. And he said, even when I go there, I will stand on that door and ask you not to enter, because God gave you a brain, gave you hands, gave you a body. How can you go back to him and you tell him that I am poor? How? That was very interesting.
Have you ever heard of blessed are the poor, for the kingdom of God is theirs?
He said we should not misinterpret.
You know, blessed are the poor in
heard
spirit.
No, Robert,
of how hard it is for a rich man
to enter
to
heaven.
enter heaven than a camel going
Not
through
to
the eye
sound
of a
like
needle.
a preacher, but allow me elaborate this. When you talk about poverty, there is the financial poverty and poverty of the heart
And of the mind.
and of the mind. So the poor ones that are not going to heaven especially are the poor ones at heart and in the mind.
Not in regards to earthly things, really.
No, not really, not
Yeah.
really in regards to earthly things. Because if you are someone that works hard and probably things have not been working out and unfortunately you die, you've been making effort, I'm just saying. But if you have a poor heart, now by poor heart, I don't want to preach.
You already preaching.
Go on, preacher.
Because even the Muslims have it that if you have a rich heart, the more you give, the more it just translates to receiving. And if you look at the Muslim Brotherhood, by the way, there is a way they receive faster because they give out. They share.
It's a principle they put in them when they're growing up. And
But also, two people of late are moving away from one, motivational speakers, and by and large also some religious or faith-based. Where do these people work?
Well,
Many of them are becoming, when we were growing up, our days, the good old days, men of God, omubulizi ku kyalo, I mean catechists, priests, they would come on bicycles, give you
but you
blessings.
see, Robert, you
Today,
cannot tell
today,
people.
just a minute. Today, if you're to look at the top wealthiest people in this country, the 15 most richest people in this country, or 20, you may have 5 pastors on that list. If you're
Which
to
is
go
fine.
careful and move around, even in other, you'll find these people have been blessed. The God of wealth. That's why of late we see now gospel of prosperity, work hard, the poor have no room in heaven.
Because I believe as a pastor you can't lead a congregation which has top CEOs driving huge vehicles and you're on bicycles, really.
And also,
You
you
don't have the moral
cannot
authority.
tell
You don't have the
people.
moral authority to, to
Yes.
inspire them
So
to
how do
even
they work
talk
hard?
about.
If you're a catechist, when you're talking about hard work, how do you work hard as a catechist?
I'm going to suggest something in the background. We can run a bit of research about these people. Some have businesses, some have farms. They're into farming and all that. When they are not in the pulpit preaching and maybe reading the Bible and moving around different countries preaching, they have other work they do. Some that I know of, not
True,
all of
some.
them. Yes,
I know
I choose my words correctly.
Pastor Kayanja is
carefully,
very
I
much
mean.
into agriculture.
And then also the
Prophet
sheep also bring in a lot of
Kaka,
money.
But
Oh,
most,
wow, so-
No,
most
Robert,
are
for me
the
this is-
generous sheep.
For me, this is what
That
I have to
give
say.
and are willing to
you
be
cannot
exploited
tell
at times.
people that the Lord, their God, is rich and that He blesses them with riches when you're poor. That's why I have never believed in witch doctors. Because you can't tell me that I am going to be rich beyond measure when you are poor yourself. It won't make sense to me, so I don't buy it.
Now, those
But that aside, Chantal, there is something that you saw and it was really biting at you. Can you briefly tell us about it?
I landed on a story, a very interesting story. So this gentleman, a 30-year-old, is being charged with aggravated defilement. Now, the most interesting bit, we've had defilement cases, the most interesting bit is that this defilement did not happen with a child who is female. It was 2 boys, one 11 and another 12. And then he was also found with 2 other, still in the same age bracket. He had just lubricated them, going to defile them.
So it is sodomizing.
Literally. So he's been accused of aggravated defilement and sodomy of 2 male juveniles and indecently assaulting 2 others. Now, I find this very gross, and this is why the law should be put in place.
No,
Because
we have a
That's
law.
why we have the
That-
law.
No, actually, no. This is why
homosexuality.
it should be implemented. If someone is caught, everything should just. This is an 11-year-old. This is a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old.
And that's the disclaimer the president had recently when the World Bank decided to cut future funding for Uganda. He said the law that we have is not just for people who identify as gay. The law is for people like this man you're talking about, sodomizing people, coercing people, recruiting people into homosexuality. That's why we have this law, and I hope that justice will be served when it comes to this culprit. But speaking about some of the stories that we've had over the last few hours, I am wondering what Sonko had.
Well, my attention is regarding the aviation sector. When you look at the Uganda Airlines yesterday launching an app, a mobile app, which will help the Ugandans traveling, to follow up on their air tickets, follow up on the various routes the airline is taking. So it's for something you look at as convenience. And for the travelers, mainly those who have actually used the Uganda Airlines and continuously want to use it as well, I think it's something that we can easily appreciate, that the Uganda Airlines has been able to revolutionize the entire aspect of using technology and trying to put everything on the smartphone, so that anyone who has a smartphone can easily, book and also follow up on their travel routes as possible as it gets. So I think it's something to look at as a huge milestone or a big starter for Uganda's aviation sector.
Yeah, true, a good step towards digital transformation. And of course, speaking of the same, Robert, normally you have interesting stories that you hear overnight.
Now, this morning, of course, I appointed myself the ambassador to promote coffee consumption in Uganda. Voluntarily, patriotically, I took that position. Now, again, I'm taking on another position, promoting milk consumption in Uganda. Now, Uganda produces about 3.4 billion liters of milk every year. And of that, we export within East Africa 800 million liters. Within the East Africa community member states, we export that. Back home, what annoyed me, and I said I need to take on this campaign, is we only consume, that is 0.17 liters every year. So what does that mean? Should the East African community have issues with our milk, look at how little we consume of the milk we take. So join me in the campaign. Make sure every day you take milk. At least, how can we lead in alcohol in Africa? Lead in alcohol in East Africa.
We have coffee.
Yet we have so much milk, so much coffee, and we are not taking it. So we need to promote what we produce. We promote local consumption. Just join me, at least take 2 liters of milk daily. At least I have a colleague of the team whom I usually see every morning taking a pint of milk, and I'm sure very soon is about to start.
I won't name names, but I know some people that look like they really take milk. Anyway, that being said, we have gathered some stories on the local and international scene, and we will be delving into those just right now.
And we'll begin with the Prime Minister, Robin Anabanja, who has ordered the suspension of the planned eviction of people in Chegegwa district by the Office of the Prime Minister. This follows complaints from Chegegwa district leaders that a team of officials from the Office of the Prime Minister had given the over 150,000 people settled in Kazinga Town Council, Ramatumha Sub-County, and Mpara Town Council that they should prepare to vacate within 3 days.
Now, moving on, the Committee on Commission, Statutory Authority and State Enterprises, COSASE, has learned that NAD's liaison lawyer Patrick Katabazi subjected beneficiaries to paying kickbacks to his firm. Katabazi, who was appearing before the committee to respond to inquiries relating to mismanagement of farmers' funds, distanced himself from responding to the allegations leveled at him by politicians.
Moving on, Parliament has tasked government to explain the connection of coffee seedlings distribution to the parish development model. This is as MPs suspect that government wants to use PDM as a scapegoat to phase off distribution of seedlings to farmers even after it had failed to clear the 42 billion arrears of coffee nursery operators since financial year 2021-2022. The Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Thomas Tayebwa, wants the Ministry of Finance to explain the issue.
And speaking matters milk production, farmers in the dairy sector have been urged to ensure utmost cleanliness throughout the production process of the milk in order to secure and keep lucrative markets for their products as government labors to secure markets for milk products. The Minister of State for Animal Industry, Bright Ramirama, says it will be upon farmers to up their game as regards the production of quantity and quality. Ramirama made the remarks shortly after handing over quality milking equipment that included milk cans, milking buckets and scoops to farmers from different cooperatives and circles spread countrywide.
Crossing over to the international scene, North Korea has claimed that a United States soldier who crossed the border last month did so because he was seeking refuge from inhuman maltreatment and racial discrimination in the U.S. The comments published in state media yesterday are The comments published in state media are Pyongyang's first public statement on Travis King, who crossed from South Korea into North Korea on July 18th while on a tourist tour of the joint security area that separates the two countries. North Korea said King confessed to crossing the border illegally with the intent to stay in North Korea or in a third country. During the investigation, Travis King confessed that he had decided to come over to the DPRK as he harbored ill feelings against inhuman maltreatment and racial discrimination within the U.S. Army. And this is according to the state news agency reporting. Better also crossing over to Poland, NATO member Poland held its biggest military parade since the Cold War in an event that marked victory over Soviet forces in 1920 and showcased the country's state-of-the-art weaponry as war rages in neighboring Ukraine and defense takes center stage ahead of parliamentary elections scheduled for October. The Armed Forces Day parade on Tuesday marked the 103rd anniversary of Poland's victory over the Soviet Union's Red Army in the Battle of Warsaw in 1920, during which Polish troops defeated Bolshevik forces advancing on Europe. Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine has made boosting the Polish armed forces a priority for the country's ruling nationalists, law and justice. And coming back to Africa, a top Sudanese official has said that a plan should be put in place to end the conflict between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces amid the continuing violence in the country. The deputy head of Sudan's Sovereign Council, Malik Aga, said that a caretaker government must be formed as the fighting between the sides entered its 5th month. At the end of the day, this war will end at a negotiating table, said Agar, in a potential softening of the army's stance, citing the hardships citizens have endured. Agar said the current focus of the government is to end the war, and the post-war era will focus on reconstruction and rebuilding of the state institutions. And speaking matters climate change is providing its presence worldwide through increased extreme weather events such as floods, droughts, landslides, excessive rain, heat waves, and sea level rise. To say that climate change is real would be an understatement, and denying the phenomenon would only lead to catastrophic occurrences. In the last 2 decades, India witnessed a shift in its climate patterns in the form of changes during summer, monsoon, and winter seasons. The country experienced unprecedented heat waves in recent decades, and in 2023, India received unseasonal rainfall in the pre-monsoon period. El Nino conditions emerged in May. In early July, excess rainfall occurred in Delhi and the National Capital Region, causing Yamuna to breach the 1978 level that resulted into catastrophic floods.
Well, that's it that we had for you from the local and the international news. We will have a look at some of the stories in our local newspapers this morning.
Now from our dailies, we start off with the Daily Monitor this morning, as more NSSF savers are to qualify for their mid-term access, according to what the Daily Monitor is highlighting. And in the edition of Homes, Mediterranean-style design taking over Uganda's cities. And then a Ugandan has been killed in the Ukrainian war. More details to proceed with the Daily Monitor this morning. Then also why the Speaker Among led Muhoozi on a merry dance in Teso region. There is a big report coming in here with the Daily Monitor. Furthermore, a law to manage property of deceased in the offing, as the Daily Monitor brings you the details in there. Mulago starts new cancer treatment technique that is actually in the Daily Monitor today as well. Then Mukono Land's office closed over forgery. Then furthermore, still with our dailies, we take a look at what the New Vision has in regards to news this morning. The trial exams begin on new curriculum as 4,000 O-level students selected for mocks. Then furthermore, Muhoozi rallies Teso on agriculture. And then the other side of the economy, the Bank of Uganda lowers interest rate. There is a detailed story by the New Vision. Then no selling of land without notifying tenants. This is according to what the court has ruled. As trafficking also, as how Karamojong children are trafficked to Kampala. And then also following up on the issue to do with digital number plates. Digital car plates venture to create 1,000 jobs. That is for the New Vision this morning.
Well, thank you so much for keeping it Good Morning Uganda this morning. And if you've just joined us, please do not even think about changing your channel, because we are still going with you. We do this for every morning from 6:30 to 9 a.m. And when we come back, we will be having a conversation regarding digital transformation, and would like for you to join the conversation. We will later share our WhatsApp number where you can share your opinions. And of course, you will be able to share your opinions on the X app, which others insist on calling Twitter, and the hashtag is UBCGMU. Now we will be asking a question where we will like for you to weigh in. Share your opinions on how the Ministry of ICT can promote digital transformation in Uganda. Would love it if you join us for this conversation when we come back. If only you knew some of the conversations that take place before we get on air. Like this morning, Chantal is telling the men on set about waist trainers. Like she wants our men to train their waists. Can you imagine that? Good morning. And this is Good Morning Uganda. I'm Olive Monica Najuma, here to take you through this morning with, of course, my awesome team. And I'll start with the lady that is advising men to buy waist trainers. Good morning, Chantal.
Good morning, Olive. How are you doing? And good morning, our viewers. So glad you could wake up with us this morning. And yes, they need to know, because if there are women came with waist trainers, they need to understand these things.
Okay.
Yeah, they have a vested interest. They're the ones that gain the most.
So you're not telling them to buy the waist trainers
if
for
they
themselves?
want to buy, but that sounds a little... I don't know if I found a man wearing a waist trainer, how I would think or feel. Best believe.
You would, I don't know. I would be like, he's trying to get with the flow. He's trying to be in shape for me.
Olive. No, thank you.
Chirabo.
Oh, I didn't say
asked for
nothing.
details.
I didn't say
He asked for the
anything.
details.
For details, and I recommended that he doesn't think about it.
I've been told coffee is one of those best ingredients, I should say, that one can actually use,
Especially
to
breakfast.
cut,
To lose,
to lose weight, gymming as well, and and also having some stress a little bit. You sprinkle some stress into your life, you can lose.
Okay, Jerome, first of all, good morning, and I'm hoping that you had a wonderful night.
Yes, indeed I did. Good morning to all my teammates here, and good morning, Ugandans. Many thanks for joining us this morning. Well, Wednesdays are normally a fresh opportunity for some of us in regards to the fact that we now get in sync with what the week has to provide. They normally excite me as an individual.
When you have 2 days to the end of the week.
I know, yeah. So I'm only gearing up for those particular 3 days from Friday to Sunday.
Okay. And I have a question for you this morning, Jerome. Why is it that when we mention West trainers, you thought of Robert? What do the two have in common?
No, because Robert actually asked the question, what the West trainers really do. So I was like, maybe Chantal was indirectly attacking Robert.
Why Robert? Why not yourself? Robert, what do you have to say for yourself this morning?
Now, you children of the 90s, mutuvuka speedy. Because you just mentioned something and I didn't understand. To be very honest with you, that's why I said, do I need one? You know, because I didn't understand. And up to now, you know, there are things that we are just these days sometimes are new to our generation. Yes, because for us,
strategy that will shape the nation's technological landscape for years to come is going to be on the 17th of August 2023 here at Serena Hotel in Kampala. And speaking to journalists in Kampala, Dr. Amina Zawede, the Permanent Secretary for the ICT Ministry, expressed the vision for a Uganda where every citizen, regardless of their location or socio-economic status, will benefit from digital services. Now, when we look at statistics, only 6.1% of the population, that is of 2020, of Ugandans are using the internet. Now, where do we go from here? We have a question for you that we would love for you to answer this morning so that you join this conversation with us. And the question we are asking today is, share your opinions on how the Ministry of ICT can promote digital transformation in Uganda. You can reach us on WhatsApp. The phone number is 0709-602-592. That is 0709-602-592. And if you're on Twitter, you can join us. The hashtag is UBCGMU. Would like to hear your opinions regarding the same. Now, coming back to my team, I would like us to start from the top. The Baganda have a saying that when the food is hot, you start it from the edges as you go inside, especially katogo, if you know katogo. But anyway, I want us to start from the top, and I would like for us to define, first of all, for the person watching and they're confused, digital transformation, ICT, what does that mean?
Digital transformation is the process of adoption and implementation of what we call digital technology, and this can be done by an organization, and this is in order to create new or modify the existing products and services. So when you are trying to modify your maybe your services or products or customer experience, then you're going to be looking at digital transformation. Goes for organizations, goes for government, of course, as we're going to be seeing. And usually the goal of this digital transformation is to increase value. And this value increasing can be done through innovation, through invention, and also improved customer experience and efficiency. So that's like the best way I can put it down for someone out there who is looking to know what does digital transformation mean.
Well, thank you so much, Chantal. I believe that is simple enough for us to understand, because if we go into technicalities, we might need a day and a half here. But the big question here is, in as much as we talk about this, and personally I think it's a step in the right direction, have all Ugandans embraced ICT? I'll come to you, Sonko.
We've all, a few, but the majority. The few, I should say majority, not a few. If I use
when
a few,
you say majority,
the majority of those in the urban setting,
yes.
Actually,
okay.
Simply because they have, first of all, the money to buy some of these ICT equipment. The first affordable ICT equipment is a smartphone. So if you can afford it, then you're good to go. Your first step into the digital transformation is already underway. And then I think the minority, or rather the majority, that have not yet tapped into digital transformation are those outside the city centers, especially people in the up country. So these are people who have, who have the knowledge, I should say, and have information, but then in the long run, the only issue that is actually defeating them to enjoy the digital transformation era is because maybe they do not have the facilities to at least be part of such a conversation. Which kind of facilities? A few of them have smartphones, because even if you go up country, that is deep in villages, you get to realize that most of the people are more comfortable getting information with their local radios, and of course the phones that most of them are actually using the cartouches that we normally call the mapesa.
It's called rich man phone.
The rich man phone.
Yes.
I think everybody normally has that phone somewhere.
Yes.
For mobile money transactions mainly, for the business people. But when you look at those within the city center, I think most of them are already into the digital transformation. But again, we cannot, drive digital transformation around smartphones alone, because if you're to check back to 2012, when the digital migration conversations kicked off, that is from getting away from analog use of television to the digital. I think that is when also Ugandans got to realize that digital transformation is rotating around a lot of the use of ICT tools. Now, when you look at those who are actually enjoying digital transformation in the aspect of television, you will realize that the entire country, especially those with TV, everyone at least has a digital, let's say, a decoder.
Yeah. Free-to-air
a free-to-air decoder.
Yes.
Name the other service providers from the pay TV, service providers. But then the journey of the only challenging part in digital transformation for Uganda is ideally internet connectivity, internet speed, and of course access to it.
Okay, we will expound on that later. I would like for us to look into whether or not Ugandans, the internet has transformed our economy as a country. Do you think the emergency of the internet or by the government putting more resources into the ICT sector, that it is doing more good for the country's economy than bad?
When you look at the literacy levels of the country, of which I'm talking about the literacy levels because you can't be illiterate and you function fully when it comes to digital transformation. That is the truth. As of 2021, our literacy levels were at about around 79%. And when you look at the progress, we've been progressing, and that is by a percentage of about 24%, and not a good one when you compare with other countries. But let's say we are on the right track. Now, when you go back down to your question, Olive, think about it from this angle. Aren't we starting from the top instead of going back down to the basics?
What do you mean?
The Ugandans who are into the digital transformation era, yes, who are well versed with it, who are willing to learn more, are the people that are already exposed. And what percentage of the Ugandan population is that? If you remember very well, basic example, during COVID-19, when at a point schools and government was advocating for online studies, this brought questions of, isn't this favoring people in the urban centers and neglecting people in the areas, in the deeper areas of say, Kabale, yes, Kabong, and the ones that don't even have access to TV, the ones that will converge in one particular shop in a city center to watch TV, yeah, or to watch news. So what am I trying to say? Why don't we revisit these areas that require us to put almost everyone at the same level? We can't come with everyone, but we can have the bigger percentage at the same level for us to be able to actually have a leveled conversation on whether digital transformation is going to give us the results we want. Unless if you're telling me that you're starting from the top and then now you're moving downwards to get to the grassroots, to the foundation, where these people are also going to be catered for. Short of that, this seems to only, in the moment, include the people that already have the ability to use technology, those that are literate, those that have access to the internet and every device or everything needed. Imagine you come from my village, somewhere in Shema, and you get to town and they're telling you, no, you have moved to come to URA to make a payment. However, you could have done it on your smartphone. And this lady can only speak Runyankole. The most she can do is speak broken Luganda. You understand?
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
I remember a few weeks ago we had a conversation with the executive director of NITAU, and I asked him the same question regarding ICT and how it benefits someone that is deep in the village. And I remember him saying that his grandmother, now in your case, let's say your grandmother or mine, may not necessarily directly be the end user of the internet, but still, instead of traveling to Kampala to get a passport or to get a national ID, ID, she will just have to move to a town center or a place in Western Uganda where there are nearer offices and someone will guide her. Or a grandchild like you, if they stay with them in the village, will say, grandmother, you don't even have to go to Mbara. Let's just use your phone or my phone to register you, and then you will just know when to pick your national ID. So to a degree, I still think that we are on a move into the right direction.
Yes, we are. I should say we are in the right direction. But then there is something to worry about, really. You know, when you're also using your phone and you go up country, there are so many chances that you're going to lose network.
Very true. Totally agree with you.
Even if you're going to, let's say, Western Uganda, or you go to Northern Uganda, or even Eastern Uganda. We've had all these conversations where people are saying, you know, attaching to a few, you know, internet, you know, providers, whereby someone says, since I have this line, it only stops within Kampala. Then even the lines that we know of, or even the telecommunications companies that are dominating the market, are still facing the same challenge. Because you may ideally give your grandmother or your mom a phone, a smartphone of top-notch quality, having even access to 5G internet. But then the region where they are staying has no internet connectivity.
Yes.
So that means you're literally not doing them a favor at all, because they're not going to enjoy the services, and they're not going to even, you know, feel that they're in the digital transformation era. I think for the government, for example, the Ministry of ICT, they've done a lot of you know, benchmarking within the Great Kampala Metropolitan, or within the central region, or even some few of the cities within Uganda. But they've highly forgotten about the underprivileged Ugandans, because this is why you realize that we have very few services that are extended to upcountry areas, so that in some circumstances you realize people feel more happy being in Kampala.
So what you're trying
to say is
that,
more like a dream come true for someone to even stay here.
So what you're trying to say is that most of these incentives or initiatives by the government for Ugandans are normally geared towards a single demographic or a few demographics. Let's say you are educated, you stay in a city like Kampala. So when it comes to someone that stays in a village, meanwhile my village is not even very far. I can go from Kampala to my village in like under 1 hour and be back. But still there are deep villages within there where you can go and the child has never seen a smartphone. And this is the child that is going to compete someday for the same job as a child in an international school or someone that is in Kampala. So what Sonko is trying to say, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that yes, the initiative is good, but we need to broaden the spectrum when it comes to digital transformation and inclusion, and make sure that we include all Ugandans at every level, from the grassroots deep in the village to
please,
to the city center. Please go ahead.
Sorry, I was looking at it from this angle. When you look at some of the government parastatals, or you look at the institutions, they have tried to get into the digital transformation era. I give it up to URA because they have really, you can log onto the system and do a number of things, make some payments, even the payment for the express tickets for some people, it's easier. Life has become a bit easier. But my question is, the way we are simplifying life, making it more convenient, improving the service delivery, improving customer experience, how many of those people are you reaching? For you to be able to say that digital transformation is coming your way, are these people well aware of what digital transformation means? Do they know what it takes? Because when you are making such decisions, the stakeholder is very important. And in this case, the stakeholder is every Ugandan who is supposed to be using or who is supposed to be taking part in this digital transformation. You are doing it for Ugandans, so definitely the question for me would be, how many of the Ugandans are aware of this digital transformation, are ready for it? And when you're assessing readiness, you're assessing elements of accessibility to internet. We're talking about connection. We're talking about the price.
You know, you've actually
That
mentioned
you're
Hold that
paying.
thought,
You know,
hold that
Chantal has actually
thought.
mentioned
Hold that thought,
some-
Sonko. I would like to call in our viewers to join this conversation on digital transformation. And today we are asking you to share your opinions on how the Ministry of ICT can promote digital transformation in Uganda. How can the Ministry of ICT promote digital transformation in Uganda? You can share your views on WhatsApp number 0709602592. Again, the WhatsApp number where you can share your opinions with us on this important issue is 0709602592. And you can also join us on the X app, and the hashtag is UBCGMU. Now, it was getting hot in here.
You know, when Chantal was mentioning
Yes.
about awareness, it took me back to, is it a few days back? I should say a few weeks back, when the government announced that they have cut, you know, internet costs for MDIs.
And
Surprisingly, many Ugandans
Yes,
thought
yes.
that the internet costs were down.
Yes,
Yes.
everyone was
So,
excited,
exactly.
thinking that, oh, finally.
Because do you
And
remember
yeah.
after the scrapping of OTT, now there was a tax that was still put on every bundle that you purchase.
purchase.
And that is why I was going to the question of, have we looked at even the cost of internet?
And let's delve into that. What are the numbers? What are we looking at? And where do we stand in the East African region?
First, when you look at, let's even first of all look at internet use within the region. Kenya has more internet users than we do,
Okay.
followed by the DRC, which now is also part of the region. Then Tanzania takes up, then Uganda goes in number 4. And we have more internet costs than all these
Than
others,
all
because
the
there is
East
even
African
more
countries,
affordable.
yes.
Because when you look at the entertainment world, Tanzanian musicians, it is actually easier for them to break even on YouTube than Ugandans, because the internet penetration there is very, very much possible, because anyone can, if you have a smartphone or if you have a smart TV,
The cost of
the
internet
cost of internet is cheaper
not-
for them.
yes.
So my question would be, why is it that the internet is cheaper in these countries and more expensive in ours? And I'm sure someone out there may be thinking, does it have anything to do with the fact that we are landlocked? Are we so far from the sea that the cables that are undersea take so long to reach us? Is it the costs, the logistics of internet coming to Uganda that is affecting us? Why are we so high when it comes to internet costs?
Now, that is a question that that I think I would love to hear someone from the technical,
telecommunication.
from the much it would be a much better. I think it would sound better being answered by someone from the telecommunication or even URA that imposes some of these taxes.
Because some of these are open to business in Uganda, even in
Yes.
Kenya, for example. So that means they would at least give us
We have
more
MTN.
of, you know,
MTN is all over, all the East Africa, actually across Africa. So how come?
When it comes to
To
Uganda,
Uganda, exactly.
it is more expensive.
So you understand what I'm
vis-a-vis
trying to tell
other
you?
countries.
So when we go back to the basics, you're not telling me about digital transformation, but you're not made internet easily accessible or fairly priced for me to access. If I am loaded, has it ever happened to you? You load data right now, and the next few minutes your data is all done.
And
A
woe be
3
unto
day.
you. Yes, woe be unto you if you have loaded data of, let's say, 500, 1,000, 5,000. I don't know what happens, but that data just never seems to agree with staying on the phone.
And best believe, these people, the biggest percentage of the Ugandans that are trying to get into the digital transformation era, when you go back down to the village and ask how much internet are they going to load, even if you say you have work, say you're constructing in the village, and you're telling this engineer, please send me a picture of how far you've gone. If he says he doesn't have data, he will tell you, just load for me for 1,000. You understand?
To read the
Now,
message or get the
1,000
picture.
shillings.
it's more like 165 MBs.
something like that. But that is how much they need. But they can't afford to load every single day 1,000 shillings of data.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to tell you?
Is it a problem of money, them not being able to load every single day? Or maybe they just don't think they need to use it every day?
Because it's a problem of the cost.
You know, there are some people who actually pay for data rather than even paying for food, because they would rather you know, stay on the internet.
That's where I'm coming from. I'm like, probably in some instances, I'm not saying that the internet, or we've already agreed that Uganda's internet is expensive, especially that by service providers, private service providers, because at least when it comes to MDAs, the government has made it possible that their internet is cheaper. They just slashed it from $70 per Mbps to $35 per Mbps. Now, when it comes to private service providers, that is a very other long conversation to have. But also, I was coming to this. Some Ugandans have smartphones, but they honestly don't even know how to use them. For instance, do you know that you can use your phone to make money? And I'll come back to you, my team, my colleagues. Do you remember the COVID-19 pandemic under lockdowns?
Yes.
Business moved from locations, like where you go to a physical location, and it moved online.
Yes.
But there are still Ugandans who don't know that you don't need to look for capital and also look for money for rent to run a business. So when people say, I can't load 1,000, or I load once in a while and I see some people's statuses and I go off, maybe they haven't been sensitized enough
for the use
understand that there is more to the internet than viewing pictures on WhatsApp, statuses and TikTok videos.
Well, you've mentioned something that is of high interest, by the way. The e-commerce grew during the COVID-19.
Yes.
But however, when you look at the observation now, it is dropping. And I would tell you why. Because once the lockdown was lifted, Ugandans realized that those who actually, you know, the online stores and everything, are adding more charges because of the fact that the cost of doing business is even more expensive. Again, because of the internet. And of course, because you have to do deliveries, you have to, you know. And then there is also another big challenge with it, with the e-commerce part, is the fact that in most cases you may order for something, because almost every trader was now using the internet.
You have seen, you know, what you ordered for versus
what you actually get. So most Ugandans feel it's actually better I go downtown or I go to the shop myself and then buy this product. So that has also undermined the e-commerce growth. And of course, as we continue to push it in that direction of thinking, and that is not even a government challenge, by the way. I think it goes back to the Ugandans themselves, or the business people, not appreciating and making good use of the internet.
You sell me a product that is not exactly what you advertise, then that is not on the government. It is on the seller. And of course, here we have to look at integrity.
Yes, that is now something that is questionable because you don't know someone's motives. However, I wanted to say something about systems, about innovation. When it comes to digital transformation, you're looking at systems, you're looking at innovation, you're looking at invention. We have seen apps grow. Yeah, we have seen. I mean, if you want to move right now and you don't have a car, you can be able to order a ride.
Oh yes.
Using your phone, finds you where you are in your convenience, and you're able to move. But let's look at how these apps are. Are they user friendly? And look, have you ever tried to use a particular app and it keeps on, you open it, it takes you back to the home screen, open it, takes you back to the home screen, or you open a website and you can't access everything you need on that website, and you have to go to that company to actually have the discussion. You could have checked.
To do a follow-up.
Thank you. You could have checked online. You could have checked progress online. So we still have a challenge as well with some of these systems that are being used by those who are jumping onto the digital transformation era. And at the end of the day, those are things that we need to revisit to make the experience better or good for those who have the chance to go ahead and get on the digital transformation era.
The government also needs to work on the cybercrime.
Yes.
You know,
Okay, we will delve into that after I have shared some of the comments from our contributors online. And the first one is from Jimmy Kev from Mukono. He says, good morning, presenters. Uganda's problem is from government wanting to reap a lot from the poor to benefit the few in government offices. So if government could mind the improvement of lives, expenses of some services could be regulated by the government to benefit the least poor in the country. That is from Jimmy Kev from Mukono. Thank you so much. And this one says, good morning, family. It's quite challenging to promote digital transformation in a third world country like Uganda because the process is a bit expensive. He goes on to say, most people can't afford those so-called digital equipment or even products. Illiteracy and ignorance is also another factor, because the fact is some people don't know how to use smartphones, computers, and others from far don't know whether they even exist. It also comes with a disadvantage of unemployment, where work that can be done by 30 people can be done with a computer in just minutes. However, as a country, we must embrace change to grow. So he says ICT ministry together with the government must reduce taxes levied on importation of such machines and equipment. The government should also reduce taxes on data. All these can boost digital transformation. This is Cricket Derek Gagamel from Makindye, Luafu. Thank you, Derek. And Derek touched on many issues. And he talked about taxes on data, and of course taxes levied on importation of such machines and equipment. I saw a headline yesterday in the Daily Monitor where it was saying that the government is considering like controlling or being in charge of prices for smartphones in the country, because let's face it, a good smartphone, yeah, it costs some bit of money. I won't say an arm and a leg, but yeah, if you're going to hold something like an iPhone, the government has no control over that, because even in the States the phones are already expensive, but because of the taxes they become even more expensive when they get here
into the country.
But we have said a lot of things that are lacking here and there. What I would like to know, what is the positive side of this digital transformation?
The positive side, number one, is that you're going to look at lives getting better. I'm going to sit in my office and I'm able to transact and do a lot of things without having to move an inch. That means I'm reducing on the time that I'm going to be wasting, for example, in jam. I'm reducing on also the paperwork that is involved, and it's easier to track from wherever I am. So you're looking at increasing customer experience, you're looking at convenience, you're looking at time management, and you're looking at the fact that generally when you reduce the time wastage, you're also saving on some money in a way, and at the end of the day, it trickles into development, personal development, but also for the country, because if individuals are growing, the country is growing. If companies are growing, then also even the country is growing. So that is the positive side that I would point out that would come with the digital transformation. Okay,
and of course, everything has a positive and a negative.
Yeah.
Here, we are not even talking about government, what the government should or should not do, but coming back to us, the internet users, what would we say we have found to be the negative side of the internet?
I did mention the cyber crime.
Yes.
And this has actually cost even the people who use phones or use the internet space for business, e-commerce. The report in 2022 revealed that, over 15 billion was lost really through, fraud,
Ponzi schemes.
Yes.
the Ponzi schemes, and people using banking apps on their phones and everything, and then they get tricked into losing their money to fraudsters. But then I think government needs to work onto that cyber issue. Cyber security needs to be very, very key in regards to ensuring that Ugandans find the internet space safe for them to use. because however much we are enjoying it, because ideally we are all enjoying the internet, it comes with a lot of, you know, besides the stress that, you know, it relieves off you, but then it also gives you the opportunity to socially interact with great minds, try to, you know, find out new things or learn new things every day. But then, you know, it limits us when it comes to what I've mentioned, the cyber, you know, the cyber crimes that are out there, because other people actually use that same space to intervene into people's personal finances and, you know, the personal life of others as well.
Actually,
you know,
speaking of cyber crime and fraud as far as smartphones are concerned, recently MTN, that was last week, they gave a statement and said that numbers grew in the people that were using their smartphones to access funds from their bank accounts and mobile money numbers. Withdrawing was easier. Most people are comfortable withdrawing money from their bank accounts using their phones as related to depositing money onto their phones using, onto their bank accounts using phones. And the reason they gave is that most people don't feel safe making a deposit to the bank because they feel like money may get lost.
Okay, as someone who has used
somewhere
that,
there, yes.
As someone who has used that service, it is actually, it reflects immediately.
Yeah.
I've never lost money through that.
Well, we need mindset change over there because most people do not feel safe when it comes to depositing their money onto their bank accounts.
No, we are a very insecure generation. Enough.
But can you blame us?
Actually, someone said we are a paranoid generation.
Well, we have
So we are used to
you can't blame us really. Some people have been hit and hit hard. That's
So we
why
have
when you check your
experiences
mobile
about
money,
everything.
yes, for instance, if you use MTN, you're going to see a message in capital letters where they say, do not share your PIN. And even your bank will tell you, do not share your ATM PIN because someone can get in there and wreak havoc onto your savings. But we have some more comments before we close, and this is from John in Mbale. He says UBC and government are not on the same page. You can't dictate the channels of use and claim to be open. For example, Facebook is still not accessible without VPN, yet this is one of the biggest platforms used on for online marketing.
Blocked.
And this one says, I am Pius from Lira. All we need is equality, honesty, transparency, and the tax levied should be looked into. Thanks. And this one says, hey, morning, beautiful people. How can I get a business online? As you said, I'm a youth, but I'm not into the phone. Well, you will have to get to be into the phone, unfortunately for you, because today the world has gone global, digital, sorry. And if you are not on the phone, if you're not using your phone to make yourself money, then you're losing out. Many young people are online selling shoes, selling bags, using their smartphone, so you have to get into the phone. This is from HK from Kawempe. He says, thanks for the show. I think there should be a reduction of costs of new technologies that often stop small businesses and local people from adapting them. And I will end the comments by reading this one. He says, good morning, UBC. Internet prevent service providers, especially MTN data, is really expensive. I think he's trying to say internet service providers like MTN, their data is really expensive. Sometimes when one loads data, the moment they start browsing, the message comes telling them that they have used 50% of their data. Chantal mentioned this earlier, and this message is from Alfred in Mbale. Thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. Thank you, Alfred. Obviously, you're not the only one affected. And like you, even us here and many Ugandans, we hope that internet charges can go lower and even lower so that every one of us can benefit. Now, in 30 seconds, I need you, Chantal, to give us your parting shots.
Well, my parting shots, first of all, I would like to remind Ugandans that on the 17th of this very month, Uganda will be launching the Digital Transformation Roadmap. And having had this discussion on how best, having heard from you how best we can improve, how best all this can go well, I'm hoping that having outlined some of those things that we find as gaps in there, then this roadmap is going to come with solutions to some of the gaps that we've been able to put forward. So
it's actually not even fights tomorrow.
Yes, I am looking forward to what this roadmap has in stock, because it's digital transformation roadmap, meaning it has an overall plan for all of us and all Ugandans. So I'm really looking forward to this launch.
And Sonko, please share your last comments regarding digital transformation in Uganda.
I think the uptake is promising. It is very positive, and we should be, happy about it. But also, the Ministry of ICT has actually been working on the innovation hubs. For example, there's one in Nakawa. When you look at that, they have actually given room for youth, innovators to step up. But then we also need to have that digital inclusion conversation for all the Ugandans, not only those that are centered within different Ugandan cities. But with that, I think it's all I should call out. That's why I'm calling out the government really to focus more on digital inclusion. But so far so good. The uptake is promising, and also the service providers should at least make the internet costs a bit favorable for us.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. And if you need to know more about Uganda's digital transformation roadmap, then join the government of Uganda through the Ministry of ICT as they launch this roadmap on the 17th of August 2023 at Serena Hotel here in Kampala. I believe that when you go there and attend this conference, you will not come back the same. Now, I don't mean to sound like a preacher, but I know that there is always something to learn about something, and there is a way that it can change your life. Before we take the break, we will have a look at some of the dailies in the East African region.
And from the dailies across the region,
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
Mukoke Fish Farmers Association tuli balunzi ba byananda ebyebika ebisatu omuli Miracap, tilapia oba engege ni catfish twete male. Group eno twatandika twali abantu basatu nga tulingirira obwetaavu obwebyenanda obwivwa eno okubona nti tufuna okasente akava mu maadi agali gatambula butambule nga gatubita ku wanu ng'ekirabo. Twatandika ni fish pond ndala mu mwaka gw'e2018. Twebaza fisheries officer ni district ya Bugiri babanga batulagirira kusani fish farm ebwikwe ni side day ndeyo twabanga tusobola okufuna kwetusaako obugege obwasooka era mu mwaka ogwali 2022 awo basobola okubanga batuwaayo ebyenanda emitwalo $4 okuva mu operation werese creation era okuba yongereza ku emmere yatuweebwa okuva Ugachik Poultry Breeders. Twasobola okubanga tusoloza akasente akawerera obukayire nga 42. Twasobola okubanga tubuinvestinga oba okubona nti twongerezaako ku bimu ku bintu bye tukola gano. Bebaza gavumenti yaife okubanga buli saawa efaayo okubanga efeeri y'Abannayuganda.
Upgrade your lifestyle with the all-new entry-loaded Chillax voice bundles.
Now, call all networks in Uganda with Chillax voice bundles. Call all networks, no expiry, no worries. Dial *100*1# and select call all networks. Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
We've got 12 minutes to 8 o'clock. Good morning again. Many thanks for sticking around to UBC's Good Morning Uganda. Now back to our press review as we kick it off with the dailies from Uganda. The Daily Monitor has the highlight: more NSSF savers to qualify for mid-term. And also the National Unit Platform terror suspects remanded again. That is still with the Daily Monitor today. Then furthermore, in the other news, Mulago starts new cancer treatment technique. There is a detailed report of that with the Daily Monitor. And then in Mukono, the Mukono Lands Office closed over forgery. And then the Daily Monitor also brings you a reason why the Speaker Among led Muhoozi on a merry dance in Teso region. And in the other news, still with the Daily Monitor, there is a law to manage property of deceased, which is in the offing. And then there is a Ugandan man who has been killed in the Ukrainian war. The Daily Monitor bringing you all those particular details this particular morning. And then with the New Vision as well, still with our dailies from Uganda, trial exams begin on new curriculum as 4,000 O-level students selected for mocks. Then Muhoozi rallies Teso on agriculture. Then on the issue of the digital car plates, it is set to create 1,000 jobs. And then from the perspective of the economy, the Bank of Uganda lowers interest rates. There is a full story on that particular one with the New Vision, as the court rules that no selling land without notifying tenants. Also in a report regarding trafficking, the New Vision looks at how Karamojong children are trafficked to Kampala. Well, away from that, we now turn our focus onto the region as we kick it off with the Daily Nation from Kenya, as there is a reality check, a detail regarding the initial strategy seemingly failing to tame runaway fuel costs, as President William Ruto's administration has been forced to restore the compensation of oil dealers. That is from the Daily Nation in Kenya. Still with the Daily Nation, there is a windfall for port staff set to receive 500 million Kenyan shillings in pending bonuses. Then also from the political perspective, President Ruto and Raila are set to get reports by talks team in 60 days. Then the Daily Nation also brings you a report regarding relief for consumers as food prices in Kenya fall. Now also lastly, from our dailies across the region, we head to Tanzania with the Citizen newspaper, as restrictions cut Tanzania exports to Kenya. The grain trade with neighboring Kenya has drastically decreased after Tanzania adopted new regulations that traders say will restrict food exports. Then from the business perspective, the Tanzania Private Sector Foundation gives proposals on stimulating Tanzania economy. And then there is also a report regarding the renewed red alert on food crisis in East Africa as climate change continues to bite. Then from the religious perspective, church leaders encourage Samia amid criticism. Well, that's it for our dailies this morning from Uganda to those across the region. Now back to Olive Monica as she takes us through the traffic updates this morning.
Before the traffic updates, there was a story in the New Vision that says that you cannot sell land before informing tenants. And as a tenant, that excites me because sometimes landlords will just tell you, oh, by the way, you have 1 week to vacate. Yeah. And now you have to run around like a headless chicken, finding a house, and start getting a new house is expensive. Yeah, because you're supposed to,
more so when you've not planned ahead.
Exactly, because you're supposed to pay like 4 months or 6 months, and now if the landlord is saying I have already sold the land, you're like, really? Why didn't you give us? And land vacation
is really a different hassle here in Uganda.
I know, right?
They will take you like a thief, I should say.
I know. So yeah, that is a good move. I love it. I welcome it. But I'm sure landlords may not be as happy about that move. But we are all trying to survive. So let's make everyone comfortable. Now, before getting into traffic updates this morning, I need to remind you to look at your driving permit. Have you checked and seen the expiry date? You may be moving around, driving around, thinking, oh, I still have a month or 2 weeks, only to find that it is expired. And the traffic police is getting more serious because the government is trying to curb road carnage on the road, and they say that many road users are not even supposed to be on the roads in the first place. So check your driving permit and ensure that it is still running, otherwise you will get in trouble. Now, if you're traveling to the heart of town and you're coming from the areas of Bombo Road, that is around Matuga, or you're coming from Semto, or you're coming from what's that place after Bombo? Anyway, if you're coming from that side of town, we are going to guide you on how you can move from there to Kawempe, to Maganjo, Kawempe, Boise, and of course into the heart of town. And we will pick it up at the T-junction that goes to Semto Road, joining Matuga Trading Center. Now, that T-junction, the road to Semto Road is quite small, and normally there are many heavy trucks fetching tiles from the areas of Nakaseke. So as they try to join the main road, in most cases it creates a traffic hold up in the area. So moving on from the T-junction, there is a bit of traffic, but it gets clear and then you're able to move. But still around Hotel Lounge Matuga, there is still some bit of traffic as you're trying to move to the main road. Now, moving along, there is bits of orange zones that show that there is a bit of traffic coming through, but not so much to worry about. And as you move to Kawanda, there is a smooth flow of traffic. But when you get to Safari petrol station, still around Kawanda, it gets a bit of a hold up, but it's like 5 minutes, so nothing to worry about. So we move along to Bombo Road. This entire road is Bombo Road, but it has different areas along. And still in Kagoma, the traffic now is starting to build up around Kisera supermarket, but it's not still very intense. You know that traffic, when you're moving, the cars are moving, but you cannot move at a fast speed. That's how it is. So we move along still on the same road, and there are a few orange zones here and there, but it doesn't look bad at all. I'm seeing around NIRA offices the traffic tries to build up, but then again there is smooth flow of the same. Now, if you're going the other side, actually the traffic is okay. Now, moving on to Kawempe, Tick Hotel area, there is actually smooth flow of traffic if you're going back if you're going to Bombo. But if you're coming to Kampala, there are a few orange zones here indicating that there is some bit of traffic, especially around Kawempe police station. So there you may spend a few minutes there, but still it doesn't look so bad. Now moving to the areas of Waise, as you join the roundabout, the bypass, yeah, there is some bit of traffic because of the cars that are coming from the areas of Kalere and the areas of Sir Apollo Kagwa Road, because there is traffic on both ends of the road, those that are joining the road to go to Bombo, and of course those that are coming from Bombo Road side. So there is a bit of traffic holdup even at the roundabout. When I look at it, it actually doesn't look good at all, because when you're coming from Christian Life Center, there is a deep red zone which shows that the traffic there is quite intense. So if you are coming from the areas of Kubiri, you're going to unfortunately find a lot of traffic at the roundabout in Bwaise. And of course, this traffic continues even after you've gone through the bypass around. As you head to Sir Apollo Kagwa Road, there is a bit of traffic. Now, if you are moving to now Kampala Northern Bypass, yes, the traffic, the deep red zone continues for some bit of time. So yeah, get ready to be delayed. But when I look at areas of Kawala, Bwaise Road, the traffic there is actually the roads are clear, so you can use these ones as diversion routes so that you don't get held up so much in that area. But going back to the main Bombo Road, as you reach Makere Full Gospel Church, there is an intersection here that goes to Nankulabye, Sir Apollo Kagwa Road, and of course to Wandegea. Now, if you're going to Wandegea, yeah, there is not some bit, there is lots of traffic jam around here, because I see orange, red zones, and of course deep orange zones around Makere Hill Road. So I guess because of the traffic lights ahead around Ham Shopping Center, and of course the feeder roads from Gaddafi Road, Bativa Road that are trying to join. So there you may spend some bit of time because the traffic is intense there. Now, if you move on to Wandegea, yes, there is smooth flow of traffic, but a few orange zones showing that the traffic is moving, yes, but it is not at a fast pace. Now, if we move on to, if let's say you get to Wandegea and you're going to the areas of Kampala Road, there are few orange zones along Kampala Road indicative of traffic that is there. And yeah, in some areas you're going to be delayed for some bit of time, in others you will be able to move. Yeah, so that's how it looks like. And when I look at areas of Speak Road, there is deep traffic around those areas. So yeah, it doesn't look good for you this morning. I'm hoping that you're not in a hurry, because if you are, unfortunately you're going to be late for whatever you're going for. And when I look in the heart of the city, that is Loom Street. Yes, the red zones are intense there, meaning that there is lots of traffic jam in those areas. But this is a business hub in town, so I am guessing that many trucks, since it is morning, many trucks are offloading goods to these places. So that explains the intense traffic jam. Even on William Street around Aponye Hotel, there is intense traffic. But other areas along Kampala Road around Victoria University look clear. There is smooth flow of traffic. But when you reach Kitugum House, if you are heading to Ginger Road, then you're going to to be delayed a bit because there is traffic along Access Road and of course along Kampala Road. That's what it looks like today in the heart of the city. So plan your trip accordingly so that you're not affected by the traffic hold-up. You can use diversion routes, you can use other feeder roads so that maybe you avoid the main road in some cases. But you know, they say that sometimes when there is traffic and you use feeder roads, it's a recipe for disaster. But I'm sure, given this traffic update, you will know how to maneuver this morning. This is still Good Morning Uganda. I'm Olive Monica Najuma.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Hello, darling.
Hi, Granny.
What did you do this weekend?
Well, on Friday, I went on a science trip with my classmates to Windy to see the gorillas. Then we watched the cup final in London. On Saturday, my friends and I met up to hunt some dragons again. Also, I taught the vacuum cleaner and the TV this new dance everyone's doing. They're really getting into it. And on Sunday, I went to bed watching the world from space. And you? Yes, seriously, Granny.
With Airtel 5G's lightning-fast speeds and seamless connectivity, you won't believe what's next.
Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Greatness is all around us. On pitches, fields, and playgrounds. At home and far away. It lives in the past. And it's in the faces we look up to. And in those we see every day. Greatness is all around us. It takes us beyond limitations, beyond possibility, beyond doubt, beyond expectations. The only question is, where will it take us next?
Upgrade your lifestyle with the all-new entry-loaded Chillax voice bundles. Now, call all networks in Uganda with Chillax voice bundles. Call all networks, no expiry, no worries. Dial *100 *1# and select call all networks. Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Ireland have qualified for the Women's World Cup for the very first time.
It's unbelievable, really.
What a summer to look forward to.
Big girl energy straight out the gate. When I'm up with my boots, yeah, I came out the place. And the sun coming up today. All summer long, gonna kill it. Sydney, Auckland, making waves with my girls down under. Fit it out, get to talk with my colors. We gon' be the best in it, I'm certain. Strike to defeat, fast as lightning, sound like thunder. Turn the world around, shut the show down. I just didn't couldn't slow down. On the whole night. Turn the world around, shut the show down.
What an amazing effort. Little John!
Turn the world around, shut the show down.
Set pistol from Little John. Ireland on its way on the world stage. What a summer.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Thank you so much for keeping with us on UBC TV. I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyitono. In case you've just joined, a quick reminder, this is your morning show. We are here from 6:30, the Fantastic Four. You have to make it a date. Kindly make it a date with us. Now, in this particular segment of the show, we usually have a guest in our studios and we discuss issues of national concern. Now, this morning, we want to look at the impact of the World Bank freezing funding to Uganda in case of any new loans, basing on the fact that we passed the anti-homosexuality law, which they see as, if these funds continue coming in, is a bit discriminative or is not inclusive. Now, when we talk about funds from the Western world, a number of people get affected, and among these are the non-governmental organizations. Now, we want to look at the impact of this to non-government organizations. Some would say civil society, others NGOs. Now, if we are to look clearly, the total World Bank grant and loans to Uganda for 30 active projects go all are at 9.5 billion US dollars. Now, these have loans and grants for 30 projects that are running. Now, active grants amount to 178.9 million US dollars, and we have 8 projects out of the 30 that have active loans. Now, active loans that you have to pay back to the World Bank stand at 9.363 billion of these projects. Now, one interesting thing we must know that our budget for financial year 2023-2024 increased. It is 52.73 trillions, up from 48.13 trillion, meaning we have a bigger budget this time compared to the previous budget we had. But also, we must be very clear that also we have a public debt that is at 86.6 trillion, money that we must pay in terms of loans as a country. Now, over a period, this has been increasing. If we are to look at a period from June 2021 to today, we've had an increase of about 12.5% or 11.5 trillion. Now, joining me on set this morning is a very interesting character, I can guarantee you. That is the Global Peace Ambassador. He's in the NGO world. That is Milton Kambura. You're most welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, brother.
Good morning to you.
Thank you, our viewers. I thank UBC and the Minister of ICT National Government for this opportunity to really digest the impact of World Bank's decision freezing our loans and denying us another chance to particularly build our country. Thank you once again, brother.
Well, when I look at that statement, the World Bank says you will not get more new loans. But the previous projects they have been working on, they will continue funding them. However, they'll have more scrutiny of these programs. Now, Milton, you don't look happy as usual, but no wonder. When I look at statistics, we see that non-government organization reduced, that is from 14,000 to 241 by the end of last year. Now, COVID cut 40% of them, and today they're operating on half capacity. Now, it is estimated that with this, Western countries may follow suit and cut more aid to Uganda, and we may have NGOs reducing by 50% even what we have. Now, one would wonder, World Bank lends to government. World Bank gives grants to government. How do you fit in the picture as NGOs?
Of course, as you are aware, we have the new NGO Act, which was, of course, the old one was amended to really prevent NGOs facilitate politics in Africa. As you are aware, what happened in Libya, over $1 trillion US trickled in Tripoli to really threaten the peace and security apparatus in Libya. But for Uganda's case, we have not had that kind of situation. It has been positive, and as you have even shared with us the statistics, in strengthening their capacity, especially compliance, the Uganda government established what we call the NGO Bureau at the the Ministry of Internal Affairs, which left many of them actually from 14,000, as you have read, to just only 2,140,000, with just 2,000, you know. So it means there are many that were left closed. Now, COVID came in, of course, many say COVID, you know, there is a lot of politics around COVID. But I want to let Ugandans that the law that is available in Uganda is that the role of NGOs is to actually supplement government programs. And within that mandate, whatever we do must be really to support government fulfill or effectively deliver social and economic projects on the ground, especially on health, on education, on climate change, on human rights. That's the area we are in. Then you must also understand that, as you are aware, almost actually half of our national budget is facilitated by, of course, our international funders and donors.
And on that, when you talk about our budget being highly facilitated, you look at a budget, like I earlier said, of 52.73 trillion. And when you look at our budget, government of Uganda, through the Uganda Revenue Authority, well, is expected to collect about 29 trillion on this budget of 52.73 trillion. What does that mean? A huge chunk then remains to have external. We look at what we project to come in as loans, then we have grants, then we may look a bit into getting also domestic loans from commercial banks here in Uganda, though this budget tried to tame and limit government from internally borrowing, but still we have a chunk of money we expect to get from there. So it is not 100% funded by our domestic revenue. Exactly. We rely on other sources to fund our budget. Yes,
giving that background now helps our viewers to appreciate that now when World Bank cuts or freezes more loans to trickle into our government or the economy, means that NGOs, which have been also getting part of that money, because as you are aware, we have local and international NGOs in Uganda whose boards of directors are Ugandans, some of whom work with government, and on their salaries, they voluntarily use part of that money, part of their salaries, to facilitate NGOs. So that directly, you now understand that when World Bank cuts money, it's actually cutting NGOs, because many of the Ugandans get salaries from these grants, who actually get part of that money to support health care, donate to orphans, send your babies home, you know, water supply by donating some small money to construct boreholes in villages. All that will be affected. Then you must also know, Mr. Chiribu, that more than 80% actually of NGO grants in Uganda particularly come from Western countries. Especially, you know, Sweden, United States, we see Germany, France, and, Canada, and just very little from, you know, Asia countries, especially China. And now Middle East is coming in to start supporting our humanitarian support. So when anything affects the Western countries in their interests, it now comes to the reality that our laws are not friendly with them. Because in their countries, to be able to get funding, there is a clause to these NGOs or funders or individuals who are sending money here that such amounts of money to be sent to support NGOs, it must be in line with their constitutional framework. Now, when we pass the LGBT plus law against their interest or their constitutional kind of framework of inclusion and, you know, sexual orientation, it simply means we are cutting the branch of the tree on which we are seated on. That I really accept. But it is also not in line with our interests as a country. Because you must know that Mugisha came out some time back, who is the executive director of the Minority Coalition Uganda, said, no, yes, I represent an organization that defends the minority communities in Uganda. But World Bank cutting aid or cutting financing or loans into the Uganda is against the minority community in Uganda. So Ugandans, I want to let you know that with that kind of voice coming out of the executive director representing this community, indicates that World Bank needs to review.
Now, even before you go to World Bank needs to review, let's look at something that you hinted on lightly. You said there are policies that countries in the West follow now to give money, and NGOs, your sister, your partner agencies there follow to give money. And among them is inclusion. So does it mean that World Bank suspending more loans to Uganda, that these other countries are going to follow suit that have been giving money to non-government organizations?
Already it has started. I want to let you know, Ugandans, that NGOs combined have been really giving us jobs. As you are aware, government has been giving some jobs, but not all the demanded spaces of jobs. So more than 16% of jobs are given by NGOs. That's a huge contribution to the economy of Uganda. When you see the GDP, our contribution as NGOs to the GDP of Uganda is more than 6%. You have just read it. And that shows you that our contribution, therefore, in terms of delivery of social services, especially on water supply, on water access, we are now deepening clean energy services in the country. You know, we are giving school fees to orphans in this country. And we have schools, we have very many schools across the country. So when you hear that countries, especially the Western countries, are going to cut aid, you know, they follow their boss. Their boss is their government. Already America as a nation is against the country. And the country called the United States has a lot of vote on the World Bank, IMF. That means the spectrum of NGOs, especially Save the Children, will be affected already. Oxfam already affected. Global Peace affected. We have a stream of more than 30 big international NGOs in Uganda whose funding can represent half of the budget of the country. That already is affected. Now, another thing that is going to be affected, apart from employment and, of course, our contribution to the GDP, is the effort we have had on education. Education support, because now you can imagine Ireland alone, their support towards the transformation programming in the country is so huge. So if we move forward, their contribution on that being now reduced to 50%, oh my God, it means now we are going to have reduced number of children retained in school to to achieve to complete education standard. We are going to have now salary cuts of teachers. As you are aware, there is some part of NGO and funding agencies towards Ministry of Education on their national budget. That's going to be technology. There is a lot going to be affected on access to technology because NGOs contribute so much on the supply of technologies in the country. But also startups. Many NGOs here support youth entrepreneurship projects. And somehow Ugandans did not know our role because they think, you know, now you're going to, but I want to let you know in this country.
That's what many Ugandans said. You tell them, well, what God, this money is for NGOs. Oh, this is just money from the Western world. Even these people also who are helping us are also helping themselves in the disguise of helping us.
Of course, you must know even churches depend on NGOs. Somehow there is a huge chunk of support that comes directly from Western countries towards churches, building, most of these prominent pastors, their churches have been constructed by the funding from the West.
And they're registered under the NGO.
Yes, most of them are, some of them are NGOs registered because of government directive came in. Now, my friends, my fellow Africans, now this is the time for us to maximize that those few NGOs that are still standing must now be united so that now we don't duplicate work. So if we have interventions around hunger, for example, in northern Uganda, if I have $1 million and you have $500,000, another one have $1 million. Now this is the time for us not to just have all our flags in Karamoja to be seen, but because we want to make a report. Now this is the time for us to have coalitions, alliances of partnerships, zeroing on hunger in northern Uganda by bringing all our monies together so that we deepen our outcomes of reducing hunger, but also have huge impact in the long term. That is very critical, which has not been there. We have been having very stupid competition in the field as NGOs. You are here, you are on the same problem. You are all on boreholes, but you can imagine you bypass each other. One is driving an SUV of 100 million shillings, another on 200 million shillings. Now this is the time for us to buy a van and we go to Nakasongola, all of us using joint resources, constructed dam, and come back. And then that reduces on our expenditure, but deepen the same outcome in Nakasongola, for example.
Well, just remind you that you can be part of the topic of discussion this lovely morning by simply using the number on your screen. Do not call on this number. Do not call on this number. It's not for calling. Do not even WhatsApp call. Yes, gentlemen, please stop that. Just send us a text message or a WhatsApp message. You could be in the NGO world in Uganda. What is the impact of the World Bank fund freezing to Uganda for new loans? What is the impact to these NGOs? We need to know. And also, what could be the possible way out? Because right now, where we are, apart from, yes, knowing that we shall survive. Someone told me we need to strive, not only survive. Because true, we can do without these loans. 2025, our first oil will be up. So we shall have money there. Our private sector is growing, like His Excellency penned down in a statement just after this hard hit airwaves, and of course he had gotten attention to it. He said we've made strides. The private sector, the agricultural sector, you know, we even have good friends somewhere that will not leave us. We've seen evidence by the Exim Bank of China. We have our brothers from the Middle East are also on board and all that. So we say no need to worry. But amidst no need to worry, we look at still what are the problems it has created. Non-government organizations, I'll take you through some of the programs, actually, let me do that are going to be directly affected by this. And wherever you are, that will enable you to know that, well, there is an uphill task for us to climb as a country if we are to effectively, and I want to use the word effectively, strive, not survive, as Ugandans. You know? Because, why are you laughing, Milton?
You know, the words you're using are scaring us.
No, not scaring. The reality is...
yes, we must know the situation.
I'm used to... I saw Kambura this morning marching in and I said, well, brother, I said, no. So when I hear that many people in the NGO world, when World Bank sets, there's so much that other donors pick up.
Already, we are closing offices. Already, you must know now we have left offices. For example, ourselves, we have left a big office. We are now going for a smaller office. We are reducing on human resource. We are reducing on the vehicles, we are going back to taxis, which is good, and we must actually be examples. As of course you must know Ugandans, NGOs in Uganda are led by very good leaders. If you want, actually this is the time government needs to really bring us on board. Because we are the best when it comes to accountability. We have the best human resource that you cannot just dump there. You must, as the leader, like now His Excellency the President, as he is looking for a self-sustaining economy and a country, he got to tap into the skills the NGOs have. And then, one thing he should understand that he should not abandon us because we can also be a threat to him and the country. Because as you are aware, they love the country. And they have not actually knelt down for this money that has issues. So you must as well tap that sector so that somehow they survive. How are they going to survive? By bringing the NGO and civil society sector to be part of the socio-economic structuring of the country. So that it is part of the private sector, but you create another sector for them. So that somehow you leverage on their skills, you leverage on the experience, so that as you are opening China as another huge partner, what is the role of NGOs, civil society, in activating the marketing of tourists from China to Uganda, for example? So somehow...
But you've nailed yourself so much on issues of governance, human rights, and now we're talking of development. Just take a look at the 13 Uganda projects in the pipeline to be affected by World Bank funding freezing. When you look at these projects, actually, they're not so much in where we say number of NGOs want to go. Is it governance, democracy, human rights, and all that. Now, when you look at these projects, we have Agriculture Cluster Development Program, Phase 2. We have National Uganda Social Action Fund, NUSAF.
That is the NGO work.
You have Uganda Skills Development in Refugees and Host Communities.
NGO.
We have Uganda Support to Municipal Infrastructure Development, Phase 2.
Sector.
We have Improving Land Administration.
That is the NGO work.
We have Uganda Learning Acceleration Program.
That is the NGO.
We have additional financing to investing in forest and protected areas
that is
for
NGO
climate.
NGO sector.
Then we have Uganda Skills for Growth and Inclusion Program.
NGO. Oh, that's us. You're talking about
building
our
resilience.
Resilience, you see. So it is us, the NGO, civil society. Now look what's happening in West Africa. The fact that NGOs and civil society gets affected, coups start. That is what I want you to know, Ugandans. Some people have been saying we are useless, we don't have any role in the country.
You're just building a mountain out of a anthill, Milton.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we are the people who have been building the stability of the country. Up country, who is there? In some places there, even Aradishis don't know those places, up country in Rwenzori, right there. It's the NGOs there, cleaning
NGOs
people's feet, building for them, mindset change. When you're talking about mindset change, even the Minister of ICT has failed because it is the NGO doing that work. So the moment we get affected, now the government need to have a cabinet special meeting. How do we now help these NGOs? How do we help them in terms of making sure their offices don't close? So you can provide infrastructure like in this Prime Minister's office. There are some offices there that I see that you see people, they simply don't know even how to use space. So please, government of Uganda, it is time, as we are all of us being affected, please don't allow the NGOs and civil society to close, because we are part and parcel of these decisions, and somehow we have been guiding the budgetary process. We have been guiding the policy reforms in the country. Now this is the time for you, the parliament, to listen to this advice. This is the time for us to actually reactivate the National Youth Policy Framework that we brought to you as a bill. You sat on it. Now where are you going to counter the youth unemployment and violent extremism? This is the time the work of NGOs on the health of Parliament to be brought on the floor of Parliament, because now we need to now see this work of NGOs an accomplished business to make sure young people become part of the National Youth Service Framework, so that young people have another way of being active using government arm of law.
Let me look at some of the questions that are coming in. Hello UBC, World Bank pulled out because he says, His Excellency, when he was in Russia, his speech, that gentleman still believes in NGOs. Oh my God, we have been having NGOs in Uganda since centuries. Where is the development? He's AS from Rubaga. Milton, you've been around here. Where is the development? Moving on. Greetings, gentlemen. Capital is utilized by Western powers to subject and oppress African development. Africa will be the ultimate winner. That is Salam. Then, thanks so much for the show. Uganda as a country is a religious nation. We can forego World Bank funds, but we cannot afford to go against God's natural law at such, the word he used, expense. I am proud of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, for standing firm. With God, everything is possible. We shall survive like we survived during the COVID-19 times. I'm Felix Ogwang. I work with one of the NGOs. The reality has dawned on us Ugandans. The world is moving towards capitalism as opposed to socialism, which we are still stuck in. And I want to be put right. Is the guest lamenting because he has lost a big cake, or has local Ugandans at heart? Karama from Mujili, are you lamenting because you've lost some funding, or you have Ugandans at heart? And hello, thanks for the show. My name is Augustine Harris, just here in lower side of West Nile. Okay, I want to relay appreciation for, well, let's make the messages a bit shorter. Good morning, UBC. I'm Bakuru Moremba, watching you from Kasese municipality. According to the explanation of that boss, it means most of the churches, NGOs, which have been rumored to working undercover recruiting gays in Uganda, is true. Spoiling, well, it is a bit a mixture of a number of things. But thank you, my brother, for watching. Because he's talking about the funding, then he's also questioning that still you, NGOs, are the people who have caused these problems because you've been recruiting, according to him, funding some of these activities.
Mr. Chirabo, people have, of course, right to speak what they want to speak. And the Ugandans, we must learn, first of all, how to listen and comprehend or contextualize details of what someone is saying. That is the role of NGOs. If you do not actually appreciate the role of NGOs and civil society in Uganda, then you don't know what you're talking about. Because not all services that can be presented or delivered by government. If someone communicates from northern Uganda, the role of NGOs has been enormous in resettlement, in the process of rebuilding and reconstruction of Karamoja. Someone has been has communicated from Kasese, for example, where I come from. You must know the role of NGOs, or first of all, the orphans of those atrocities that were committed in that place by ADF. Who's paying the school fees of some of those children?
A number paid.
A number of them. Look at the climate change projects in this country.
Even just within her secondary school,
it is NGOs. So some of Ugandans don't think. And they don't expand. I don't abuse them because, honorable, I respect them. But you must know that even the church you are in, some of these people, even the mosques in this country are built by money of donations, both locally but also externally. I think, let me also echo this, that you must really appreciate that the NGOs in the country, we're using the framework because we are guided by the NGO Act. We don't operate outside the law. That when Uganda signs a law, it affects the operations of NGOs. And that's why NGOs are going to start closing. So I am here to share with you Ugandans that NGOs, somehow there is no family in this country which has not had an impact of NGOs. It is not there. From 1970, when Idi Amin mismanaged this country, it were the NGOs which actually brought back the country in order. His Excellency the President Museveni, using NGOs that we had started spring, helped him actually to win this country. In Uganda, I will not go into details. So undermining the role of NGOs, starting with even government. You hear a minister say NGOs are useless. When actually is a product of school fees of NGOs in primary, that is actually misusing words. This government is as a result of NGO support from day one. Because people actually used to donate food. That is NGO. That is humanitarian. Churches use it.
Kambura.
Yes, sir.
English is a good language.
Yes.
But every word has its meaning. NGOs are organized organizations.
Yes, very organized.
If people donated food, maybe to our brothers, by then the rebels, a group of people, that wasn't an NGO.
Okay, let me show you it was NGO. For example, the role of the Catholic Church.
That was, because then we will be diluting so much what we are looking at and the impact of it. We are looking at a group of people with NGOs like yours, Global for Peace, who get funds that you write your proposals, forward them to your donors, then your donors give you money, you get some of the money, execute what was in the proposal, then you get some of the money. Also you, as proposal writers and NGO, also enrich yourselves. These are the people we are talking. These are the people we are talking about. These are the categories. This is what you are referring to. Let's not lower so down to.
Okay. I was correcting those that think NGOs are useless. So I also want to actually echo World Bank, Mr. AJ, who is the executive director, of course the leader of World Bank, saying that Uganda's decisions are against the ethical values of the bank. Also somehow echoes a bell in NGO world. We were compelled actually last week to have a kind of a a meeting of NGOs in this country to examine really what should we do thereafter. We really felt we need to support government. Because as you are aware, the president has taken a stand. Of course, it is the parliament that gives him the power to do that. And you must be aware that this process started actually in 2012. The first, and was actually brought back. This time we are very happy that all our entire population is actually backing this law. That means NGOs that represent the people's voices must abide by it. But Ugandans on this TV must know that we also lose jobs, which we have accepted. I am here to say, yes, we have lost jobs. What is next? What is next means you Ugandans who are listening to this television, now it is your time to sustain these NGOs because they have been good in your community. So if, for example, you have $100,000, maybe it's your salary from maybe company X, you're working with Nile Breweries, the tithe that you have been taking to church. Now, this is the time for Africa to reconstruct the NGO sustainability in Africa so that it is sustained by Africans for African problems. That is one. Then two.
Just a quick one on
please.
that.
Yes,
Good
please.
morning, Chirabo. We are now seeing that people who do not want to leave bread for cassava, no wakungu. Continue.
Yes, he's right. He's right in his own right. But I will not leave the point here that you have educated your children. They are educated.
Through NGO support.
Now I am at another level. These children must find employment. They must create jobs. We have been bringing resources into this country. Nobody should lie to you that NGOs have not been doing enough. They are bringing in resources. Part of these resources have been supporting communities. What do we do next? We are not going to support Bisiaga. Together we supporting. And from point one, our organization actually is actually on focusing on deepening extended family values. Global Peace Foundation's mandate is actually now to look at how do we now, long term, because now the law is there. It's not us who make the law, but we must now reorganize the community. Even as we are seated here, corruption is high, crime is high, impunity in this country is high. People are cutting down trees. People are taking their construction in wetlands. So let us not lose the focus on the bigger agenda. My work is not going to stop because World Bank has cut down, has freezed loans to Uganda. No, our focus as citizens must be now, how do we recover? Because you are aware that family extended values have died in this country. So where is Africa? Apart from now going to Russia and America to go present the same case, we want loans. Is that the future of Africa? The future of Africa, remember, that's why I told you, NGOs has the brightest brains in the country. Why?
He who pays the piper determines that.
No, it's not like that. Because now you are saying...
I know NGOs sometimes even he who pays the piper directs what this money should come for. You submit a proposal that is not in line with what the funder wants. For example, if they are now on democracy and good governance, you wonder how that helps the poor. And you want money from a particular NGO in the West. Your proposal must be inclined, driven to that. Otherwise, that you won't get funding from there.
You are aware that elections in Africa are funded by international systems. Africa cannot even fund the electoral process. You know that. Political parties in this country, to sustain your political parties, it is our money that we sit down, craft proposals, and make sure your interests are covered. Electoral commission in Africa, all electoral commissions cannot get sufficient budget from parliament. So, Mr. Chirabo, I want to sit here and tell you that now the big agenda is to kind of do what Museveni is saying, the president, industrialize the economy, value addition, so that Africa can use its locally available natural resources
to sustain
itself. And who is going to do that? Who is going to do that? Are these brains that are in a sector called NGOs and civil society, whose mind actually are self-sustaining.
Well, Milton, we can have a whole time for you justifying the roles of NGOs and why at such a time government as individuals should think on the best way to keep them running. But I'll just give you a minute, and please use a minute to get your final remark.
Ugandans, I want to let you know that God created Africa with all the blessings. And as you are aware, before colonialism, it was Africa donating to the rest of the world. Now, colonialism came with this mentality of surviving on others. Now, it's the time for us to wake up. and stand on our two legs, on our talents, on our natural resources, on what God has given to us. Close our ears from what is out there, but start the journey of making sure that we have enough food. That means no more misuse of land. Accountability, no more misuse of public resources in having these big cars which are consuming a lot of ministries, politicians, huge salaries to politicians. Now the boss is the farmer, the boss is the young man who has graduated, the boss is that person who gives us votes. We need to go back and reconstruct and even reform our policy towards delivering what is needed in the community to escalate the environment. Now young people to create jobs, innovations, phones, cars, clothes, shoes, the furniture, everything must be manufactured from here. But that will begin with the top leaders appreciating the situation.
Thank you so much, Global Peace Ambassador Milton Kambura, for your time and, of course, that insight into how the non-governmental organizations and civil society are likely to be affected by the World Bank's decision of not extending any further new loans to Uganda following the passing of the anti-homosexual law into this country, where we believe we're Africans, we are a God-fearing nation, and we hold on to our values. See you in the next hour. Sports next. Good morning.
Thank you.
Ireland have qualified for the Women's World Cup for the very first time. It's unbelievable. What a summer to look forward to.